Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into business ethics. We're going to get past all the buzzwords and really figure out how companies build trust, what happens when they mess up, and why this stuff is now a massive part of their core strategy, not just some PR move.
So you hear that phrase all the time, right? A good corporate citizen. But what does that actually mean? Let's take a look at the building blocks that turn a regular business into a trusted and, you could say, necessary part of our society. At its heart, it all starts with this one simple idea: doing what's morally right. But wow, that one little sentence hides a whole world of complexity. I mean, what's right for shareholders might not look so right for the environment or the local community. And that tension, that's what makes business ethics so challenging and, frankly, so important.
To really get it, it helps to know there are kind of two ways to use the word ethics. On one hand, you have a company's ethics, plural, which are like their specific moral beliefs, their rule book. But then you have the field of ethics, singular, which is the study of how those rule books even get made. One is the what and the other is the why.
And this really gets to the ultimate goal. It's about moving way beyond just serving the usual stakeholders, like investors or employees. A truly ethical company gets that it has a responsibility to the entire community, to society as a whole. Its impact doesn't just stop at the front door. Okay, so where do these big ideas actually get applied in the real world? Well, it usually boils down to three key areas of focus. First, how does the company treat its own people and its neighbors? Second, what kind of footprint is it leaving on the environment? And third, and this is a huge one, how does it compete? Is it winning new business in a fair and honest way? Let's just zero in on that last point for a second. Winning business ethically means you're competing based on how good your product is, not through corruption. The most obvious no-no is bribery, of course, but it really covers any shady attempt to get an unfair advantage. A responsible company just refuses to play that game, period. All right, so a company says it has these great ethical goals, but how do they prove it? More importantly, how do we trust them? Well, that brings us to two pillars that are absolutely essential: accountability and transparency. First up, accountability. This just means a company can't hide from its actions. It's about owning what you do, the good and the bad, and accepting that you owe the public an explanation, especially when things go wrong. And accountability is basically useless without its partner, transparency. This is the show your work part of the deal. It means you communicate openly, you explain things clearly, and you don't hide behind a bunch of corporate jargon. You're letting people see how and why decisions are being made. So you put these two together, and that's how you build real, lasting public trust. Accountability is taking responsibility, and transparency is proving you're doing it. You take one of those away, and that trust can disappear in an instant. Now, of course, all of this depends on the people who actually work at the company. To make it work, you have to demand values like probity and integrity, which are really just fancy words for complete honesty. It's about building a culture where doing the wrong thing isn't just punished, it's something nobody even wants to do. So we have the principles, and we have the proof. But how do companies turn all these ideas into an actual system? That brings us to the modern approach and the rise of something called CSR. If you go back a ways, the whole approach to ethics was often just a formality. A company would write up a code of ethics, stick it in a binder, on a shelf, and, well, that was that. Job done. These documents were usually a code of ethics, which laid out the big picture principles, and a code of conduct, which got into the specific rules for how to behave. You can think of it as the why and the how. But that old model, the rulebook gathering dust on a shelf, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Today's approach is way more systematic. It's about weaving these ethical considerations right into the core strategy of the business. And this whole evolution has a name: corporate social responsibility, or CSR. The best way to think about it is like an operating system for ethics. It's a framework that forces a company to actively manage its total impact, social, environmental, and economic, as a fundamental part of doing business. And here's how you know they're taking it seriously. Companies are now creating senior executive positions, C-suite roles, where that person's entire job is to oversee CSR. It's not an afterthought anymore, it's a core part of the business, with serious leadership to back it up. Which leaves us with one last really interesting question. Why are companies pouring so much time and money into this? Is it coming from a place of genuine morality, or is it just smart business that's good for the bottom line? And maybe the biggest question of all,
Does the motivation even matter if the result is a better world?